Hey, welcome to another episode of Chad's Beer Podcast. Sorry, I can't come up with a more clever name than that. This week I'm talking to Chelsea and Liz from Body by Beer Podcast. How y'all doing?
Hello. Hey.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. If you just missed it, we all just reviewed the new Chimay Green, so check that out. Link somewhere up here, down there. Yeah, so you guys are fairly new to the like beer podcasting, beer tube scene. When did you start your show?
Last November, October, November.
Yeah, we're
2023.
getting close to pushing the year mark, but not quite there.
You have a pretty big following in just a year. So this is your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
You're at about what 2,500 subs almost.
Yep.
And then you have like a lot of followers on TikTok, over 18,000. Wow.
TikTok likes us. That's fact.
Yeah. And on Instagram, you got like 6,500 or so. That's pretty good. And I noticed like you post a lot, like your shorts are like on all three sites.
Yeah.
And of course they all do the best on TikTok.
Fair.
Yeah.
They do well on TikTok. TikTok's itself, it's kind of its jam. It's short videos. We've tried to put the most effort into YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where we'd like to have our biggest presence long run, but you can't ignore the other platforms. And it gives us the ability to go into breweries that honestly most breweries don't have much of a TikTok presence. So we couldn't ignore that and then still be catching up on like trends and kind of how TikTok itself works, because poor Liz has been stuck in the beast of that world of how all the platforms work and how to make them all happy.
That's a real thing. And honestly, the TikTok world really likes the fun facts. So again, quick and easy, and I would say those do the best. Yeah.
What was the inspiration to start the podcast?
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, we were just doing fun facts. We were doing consulting, mainly for startup breweries, but some breweries that had been around for a little bit, and it kind of started taking off. Was doing really well, and just kind of we wanted to start adding more and more pieces to it versus it just being the fun facts. So we swapped it over to the podcast, and the podcast quickly turned into, honestly, it's more of a show at this point than it is actually a podcast. And it kind of just kept growing from there, right? And starting doing more interviews, getting more breweries on, getting them more attention, and kind of giving them that video presence that a lot of breweries just don't have.
Yeah. And we were kind of talking earlier, Chelsea's been in the craft beer industry a bit longer than me, but since 2014. But I've been in and around the service industry literally all my life. Growing up, my dad owned a bar, so I was basically born into it. But anyway, so when we left our respective breweries, we kind of missed like that conversation from behind the bar. And Chelsea was doing really well with the fun facts, and we were wondering like how could we expand that. And so the idea is that we kind of continue that conversation with bartender to guests coming in, like what would we talk about on a daily basis with them. That's why if you watch the show, you listen to it, like we definitely ramble. It's definitely a bit of news, a bit of fun facts. Let's talk about food. Let's be honest, people are always going to be rapping about food and drinking beer. And so we love it, right? We love learning about beer. And like we said earlier too, we are getting our Cicerone certification. We passed the tasting test, but we need to make time for that written exam. But it's really that education and fun. There's a lot of really cool people in the craft beer industry. I mean, here we are chatting with you, and we really appreciate you reaching out. But that as well. But like the brewers, the beer tenders out there, the management that goes behind it, the people that come in, like I think it just encompasses so many aspects of life and the artistry that goes behind it.
Yeah.
That's my long-winded answer.
You guys are in Denver proper?
We're in Arvada.
Yeah. In between Denver and Boulder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Head center.
Yeah. I mean, like I always say I'm in Orlando, but I'm really like 20 miles north of Orlando. Like I'm halfway between Orlando and Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
So it's easier to say Denver.
Yeah.
Probably could say Boulder as well.
I've also lived all over Denver.
Yeah.
Colorado has like such a great beer scene, which is it's kind of surprising because it's so mountainous, you know.
Yeah.
Like, do they grow a lot of malt and hops there, or is it just they just do all the brewing in Colorado?
There's definitely some places that do the malts. Not a ton of hops. Once you get over to like the west side of the state, there are some hop farms. Honestly, we have really good water.
It's the water.
It's truly the water. You don't really have to do anything with the water. You don't have to do a ton of balancing on it, and it's just good, clean water.
Yeah, I think Coors figured that out a few decades ago.
Something like that.
Something
like that. Them in Tivoli. But we did do an episode with a local malt farm just recently, which was super cool because we had that same question, right? We're like, where are these ingredients coming from? And they're some of the coolest people that we've run into.
And also a world I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Like we had one of our friends come and do some recording, so we had 2 different cameras going on. And he does some of the editing as well for us. And he's like, so like, what is the vision? What do you want to see? How is this gonna go? And I was like, Sam, the amount I have no idea what to expect to go into this place cannot be expressed accurately. Like I have 0 clue what this place even looks like, how any of the malting process works. Like it is a complete world that we could walk into a place with a big fire for I don't know. I have no idea how this all works.
It was so cool.
It was incredible. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
36.
39.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna be 48 next month in a few weeks actually. I put your book
just don't ask me my weight. I'm just kidding.
I put your book on my Amazon wish list, so maybe my girlfriend will get me that for my birthday or Christmas.
That's awesome. Maybe we'll just send you one.
Do you have sign it for you?
Yeah, I totally will.
You have a copy there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll get you.
I got you. We'll send you one.
Maybe we'll have to do a trade because
cover the picture.
Thanks. That's incredible.
I don't know if you know or not, but I co-authored this book, The Handbook of Porters and Stouts.
I did not know that.
It actually came out 10 years ago. It's a very thick book. It's like 400 something pages.
Love it.
And because I used to blog about beer, and I had a blog with the Albany Times Union, the newspaper in Albany, New York. That's where I'm from originally.
Okay.
And the publisher just approached me because I had all these reviews written. He's like, we want to compile all these into a book. And I was like,
cool.
Like, I don't have to do anything. You're just going to take everything I already wrote and put it into a book. Hell yeah.
That's a dream come true.
Right?
Yeah. I did write like a few original pieces for the book. But yeah, that was 2014. I keep nagging. I'm still friends with the publisher on Facebook. I'm like, we got to do a second edition, you know, or the handbook of IPAs or the handbook of Belgians or something like that. And I don't know.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, what's your book about? It's like beer and food pairings.
Yeah, it's much smaller than yours, and self-published. So this is my first stab at getting something out into the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very basic beer and food pairing.
Is it like publish on demand through Amazon?
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, exactly. So it's like if I order one, then they print one up, and then they
or we just send you one.
No, well, I'll totally send you one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just something. It was.
I mean, we do the whole segments on it, and it's totally like your passion going in, and I mean,
way to get your feet wet.
Yeah, instantly. Like, and getting kind of the basics down is what a lot of people ask for, of not knowing really where to start with it. I feel like a lot of people grasp food and wine a little bit more, or they think of that together more often. So it's a great book. It's a lot of fun. It's a quick read. It doesn't take super long, but it definitely gives you some really good poetic examples of food pairing, because this is very poetic.
Yeah, I romanticize everything, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Depends on the situation. So
there's a book here I wanted to show you.
Awesome.
For sure. She didn't even jump, she just fell.
She's just a cat.
Just a cat.
I don't know if you've seen or read this one, the Craft Beer Cookbook by John
I have
Hall.
seen it. Yep, I have
Yeah,
seen it.
it's just like all recipes in here
Yeah.
on like, you can how to cook with beer and bake
Love
with
that.
beer and
Love
Oh,
yeah.
that.
yeah.
It's funny
I
because
love
like
that.
John
Have you
Hall is
made
actually
anything?
he's gonna be on my show on Wednesday. I should
Cool.
say we're gonna record on Wednesday, but it won't be up for like another week or whatever.
Yeah.
But
All right.
That's awesome.
yeah, and I like your podcast. By the way, let me bring up your this is a Body by Beer. This is your YouTube channel for everybody watching. So you do kind of like a you do like about like what like an hour 90-minute podcast, and it has like different segments in it,
Yeah.
and then you
Mhm.
break it up into like shorts and like or just short form videos.
Yep.
Yeah, I know your shorts do pretty well
Yeah.
on YouTube. And it's funny.
Yep.
Does this drive you crazy? Like it does me. Like with YouTube, you can't set your thumbnail the way you can on Instagram and
Yeah.
TikTok. It's always some random picture of you going.
Yeah, we thought we found the hack through it, and then it didn't stick.
Yeah, every now and then there's a glitch in the matrix, and you can find it on your phone. But yeah, it's a bummer. And the thing about it is if you take any of like the YouTube classes or whatever, they're like, you got to get your thumbnail better, and it's like, but it can't.
That you literally
You
don't let
literally
me.
won't let us.
Yeah.
For everybody watching, this is their TikTok channel, which has about 18,000 subscribers,
Yep.
and Instagram about 6,500.
Yep.
So yeah, you guys are. It's funny because I don't know, like if you saw my podcast from last week or 2 weeks ago, me and another beer tuber, we just did like this kind of philosophical pondering on is BeerTube dead?
Was that
like
with Don? With Don's beer reviews? Sorry.
Yeah, I subscribe to him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Out of Scotland, you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just did a video. Actually, I should show you.
Were you tagged everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tagged you guys in it. Did you
Yeah,
see?
that thing was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, Don reached out to us right after that. So he's been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for everybody, this is obviously my channel, and I did a video pretty recently, the 2024 BeerTuber directory. I always update this like in January 1st and July 1st, although I was about a month late on it this year. And there's like a good like 200 people now probably.
Yeah.
And if you go into the description box, I put them all in alphabetical order.
Yeah, which is a beast mode. You have way more patience than I would have.
Yeah. Oh, this took days.
Yeah. I saw it. I was like, I would have hated doing this so much. It would not have been a video for me. If I'd have come up with the idea, I'd think this is great, and maybe gotten like 10 through it and been like, yeah, no, this is terrible. I'm not doing this anymore. So we appreciated you did it.
I really like about your show is like you put like a lot of like graphic design into it. Like you'll be talking, and then like I'll see like a image come up. Are you using AI art, or are you actually making all those pictures yourself?
No, there's
Sam
some.
uses some, yeah.
Yeah, so Sam does him and I split the editing. He does a lot of the AI art, which I mean you can just hit really funny stuff. Otherwise, we try to hit pop culture references probably the most often than anything. And he doesn't do it for those. And then I usually chunk out some of the shorts and kind of put my own, especially for the fun facts. I do the fun facts and kind of you can kind of tell a little bit of the style difference, other than we both are very animation, very sound effect heavy. This last one we did, the amount of like little tiny explosions that he put through the whole episode were hilarious. And it's fun, right? I mean, we go through, we kind of get what we want, we all talk about it, he jams it out, and the amount of times we sit and laugh at ourselves is impressive. We're like, we're actually kind of funny.
I think that's my favorite part, is how humbling of an experience it is. And I'll have to watch your philosophical conversation, but yeah, I think for us it's the humbling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I've been here in this space since 2008.
Wow.
So like what, 16 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. And beer tube. So like what I describe as beer tube is like hobbyists discussing beer, like in reviews, podcasts, documentaries,
Mhm.
like not like it has to be like inherently like amateurish, like like I said, like
Yeah.
hobbyists,
Yeah.
like not industry people.
Yeah.
And it has like your channel has to be like dedicated to beer. Like, I mean, you can do like I do like whiskey Wednesday every once in a while and cider Saturday once in a while and things
Ooh.
like that, but you would still say my channel is dedicated to beer. There's other beer tubers that do like 4 videos a day and like, they do like one whiskey review a day and one, cider review a day and all that stuff. But yeah, like the views on here just aren't like what we used to get unless you're
Mm.
Simon from Real Ale Guide. I don't know if you,
Right.
I
Right.
don't know
I
if
was
you
gonna
watch
say
him.
We follow
tree
him
the
now.
tree brewing. It's like they get a ton of views.
So Simon, I mean, he changed his real name, or he changed his channel name to Real Ale Craft Beer, but he will always be Real Ale Guide to me. He's in Wales and he gets he definitely gets the most views of any beer tuber because he gets about like 500,000 views per month.
Wow.
That's
I
crazy.
get like 13,000 maybe.
Yeah.
You're like, how does he do it? Have you ever talked with him? Have you brought him on the show?
Yeah, he's been on a few times.
Nice.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say before is I like you guys' chemistry because like you kind of got like the it's just the classic comedy duo of like the funny man and like the straight man, like the one
I'm the
like
funny
so
one,
like
right?
Chelsea's like high energy, Liz is like the straight man,
100%. That
Yeah.
it could not be better articulated.
Do you have
Thank
like a
you.
showbiz or like theater background or anything like that, or
Liz
anything like
does.
in
I'm just
performance?
obnoxious.
Yeah. I did theater in
Yeah.
high school, middle school,
Mm.
and I went to college for an English degree in literature. So that's what I did. I studied books.
That's
So
fair.
I always wanted to be a writer. So I'm just living the dream
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
I have
beer.
3 degrees and one of them's in English. 'Cause
Mm.
I was gonna be an English teacher, and then I
Yeah.
actually went into it, and I was like, "Oh, being a teacher sucks. I don't wanna
Let's
do
see.
this."
I got out before I jumped in.
Mhm.
I was going in for art, and I was like, "You know what?
Oh,
This
that was me too, yeah.
seems like a shit show. I don't think I wanna be part of this problem." Feels
Yeah,
like
I was like
everyone's
that.
getting into this thinking they're gonna fix it. No, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, like, when I was in high school, I was a huge comic book nerd, and I would draw
Oh,
my own comics,
Cool.
but I was basically
I
just copying, like, what I saw,
yeah.
like, to just, like, give me, like, a blank piece of paper and, like, try to draw something was, like, really like because I went to community college and I took, like, some basic, art courses, and then I would see, like, all the other students, like, it just, like, came, like, way easier to them, and, like, they're making, like, way better drawings and paintings than me. I'm like, "Oh, I don't have a talent for this."
I'm okay, but these are actually talented people.
Yeah. It's like the difference between being a fan and, like, somebody who can, like, is the real thing,
Yep,
Mhm.
Like, I
that's
mean, like,
fair.
for me, it's like, like, I used to homebrew, and I used to actually win homebrewing competitions and
Oh,
things
cool.
like that, but I would never wanna be an actual professional brewer because like, I actually, applied for jobs like that, but it's like it's a lot of hard work, like, there's no
Yeah.
unless you're the brewmaster, you don't get, like, a whole lot of creativity, it's just you're just gonna show up and throw malt
Follow
and
a recipe
beans
and
all day.
throw in a recipe and clean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you guys homebrewers at all?
We're
Starting to dabble.
yep, dabbling into it. It's a piece that we feel like is really neglected in our background knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part we've been doing a couple collab brews and brew days with people and starting to
Mhm.
include that more in some of our interviews. They
Mhm.
seem to be doing well
Yeah.
overall. So we're definitely on the learning. I recently got a pretty good little setup on Facebook, a used one that we traded for a dirt bike that's been in the garage for a decade that
It's
doesn't
like a
work. It was
10-gallon
freaking
system, isn't it?
perfect. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
It
so
was
it's
it's
pretty
all
sweet.
you're doing all grain or
yeah.
extra or
Yep, it's
both?
an all grain. Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
a goal.
Probably
That's what
both.
I would prefer to do anyways, but So the whole system was like perfect, especially to not cost anything. And the guy who traded it had spent like 10, 15 years home brewing, was really into it, and then it's kind of like puttered out. But had the classic, well, if I'm going to brew this much, I might as well do this. And if I'm going to buy this, then I might as well upgrade this. So it's like actually a pretty good system, where now his hobby is fixing up bikes and selling them. Because it like could not have been a better trade. I was like, been trying to get my husband to get rid of this bike for 8 years. I was like, this thing hasn't worked. It's just sitting here taking up space. And so like ended up talking with the guy, and I was like, I got a dirt bike that doesn't work. And he's like, that sounds perfect. I'll bring all the stuff over and let's swap. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is freaking great. So that's the goal at the end of the year.
Do you use that software, Beersmith, I think it's called?
I have seen it. I've seen people use it, but I mean, we haven't, since we're still getting into it. Our goal is by the end of the year is to actually get through like a brewing class. And I feel like we've struggled with the longevity commitment of the experimenting. Is kind of intimidating to get into, right? Like, it's not like cooking where you make a meal,
throw it away.
Yeah, you throw it away, or 20 minutes later, you're like, wow, this tastes like crap. All right, well, do something different. That's like, oh, you got to sit and let it wait for 3 to 6 weeks. And then you're like, oh, this tastes like crap. What did I do wrong? And there's so many variables that affect so many things. I was like, I feel like we need to get at least a better basis. Like, I think on paper we can talk through it. We can go through all this stuff, but it's so different and intimidating getting in and pouring ingredients in. So that's cool. By the end of the year, get through like a brewing class and get that piece up and kicking.
Yeah,
and also selfishly, it hits an audience.
I was gonna say, if you go on YouTube, there's tons of channels that show you how to homebrew. In fact, the homebrewing channels get way more views than like beer tubers like me.
I know.
And again, not to be selfish, but we definitely want to tap into that, right? Because
I'm sure, like, if you join a homebrew club, somebody will be more than willing to like come to your house and like walk you through it.
Yeah.
That's what I used to do when I lived in Albany. I was in a homebrew club, and like I learned a lot from other homebrewers that way. I was gonna say, like, the thing about like brewing is like, I mean, your number one rule is just like sanitation, because like that's what can kill a beer. It's just if you clean everything properly, you should be good. That's funny. When I moved from New York to Florida, and I started homebrewing here, my batches kept getting infected like all the time. I think it's just like the difference between like the humidity, like the denseness of the air, or just wild yeast in the air, or whatever.
Yeah.
I did make some pretty cool Brett saisons. I didn't even know like,
on purpose.
Yeah. Hot weather area. Saison yeast likes it really warm. So like if you live in Florida or like Texas, somewhere where it's really hot, just use saison yeast for everything. Because the saison yeast likes it warm.
There you go.
And as long as you sanitize and disinfect everything, you should be good. And just a really long, rigorous boil. Yeah, like that should it's all about the sanitation. After that, it's all just a matter of taste, which is kind of fun. Because I've always say like what a beer snob or snob of anything, snobbery is basically arguing your taste as fact.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
So it's like to say like there's like a hierarchy of taste of like like since it's a beer show, like we'll say like Imperial Stout is the like in a pyramid, the bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout is the top of the pyramid, and then corn macro lager is down here at the bottom, and so on and so forth. And because I used to be like a hardcore beer snob like that, and I think it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect of like when you first get into something, of just like, because like you start off. I mean, I think all Americans start off. We just drink like Coors Miller Light.
It's like a Busch Light if you're from the Midwest.
in the woods, or like malt liquor, or I mean, like kids coming up now probably drink like Four Loko and Twisted Tea and stuff like that.
That's probably fair.
To actually develop a palate, like a broader sense of taste, like you start getting the saisons and Trappist beers and Imperial Stouts and things like that, and you realize like your Bud Lights are like so bland.
They're terrible.
It's kind of nice.
Hangovers. I don't know. here in Florida, 40-ounce malt liquors are banned. Like, you can't get a 40-ounce malt liquor.
Oh.
So I think, like, what our Florida's equivalent of that is now is a 19.2-ounce tall, what do they call it? Stovepipe can?
Yeah. Yeah.
19.2-ounce stovepipe can of, like, a 9% IPA.
Yeah.
You can get this at the
No
supermarket.
wonder Voodoo Ranger's so popular. It's
Yeah,
Florida's
for
fault.
like
New Belgium.
$3, $4.
Oh, no, that sounds terrible.
Wait, it's only $3?
Well, that sounds like a hangover. That sounds like that's gonna
Yeah.
hurt.
How do Coloradans feel about the whole Voodoo Ranger lineup? Is that like a sense of pride or shame, or is like, because like New Belgium was a very maverick brewery, and like now
Right,
they're
yeah.
mainstream. Like, did they lose their cachet?
I think they definitely did locally. I think most people, because it kind of became like it started winning out like Lagunitas IPA for the most part. And it's that beer that's on that you're like, I'm at a bar that has nothing else better. I'll drink a Voodoo. Like,
And
they're
they
not
are
bad.
local. They are
Yeah, they're
local.
not bad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's some Voodoos better than other, but it's kind of hit that point where it is like the new craft IPA on in places that don't have craft beer. So it's not a bad option to have. It's just not what, if you're at a craft beer, I don't think anyone in Colorado would order it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right?
right. It's the stadium beer. It's the new stadium beer.
Oh, there you go. That's a
To
good way
your
to put it.
to your point, right? Like, that's what you're gonna get when
It's
you
the new Fat Tire, but not the new Fat Tire.
same
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
but higher alcohol content. For example, I was just at Waterworld a couple days ago for a friend's birthday, and I was like, I probably just gonna have like a beverage, but I want high alcohol. And hey, look, there's Voodoo Ranger and a stove top can at 7%. Sure, I'm gonna have to go pee, but you know what? It's gonna get the job done, and I don't have to come back. Also, because it's $14 a can.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Come
but
down
to
the
your
water
point,
slide.
Woo! No, you can't have it on the slide.
Oh.
But in my
Sneak it in.
in my head it was. But I think it's a mixed bag, right? If like, say the three of us are going out, we're not gonna seek out Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah.
We're gonna seek out Cannonball Creek. We're gonna seek out Four Noses, right? Like, people that are brewing IPAs regularly and different ingredients, not on such a mainstream level. But I tell you what, I'm not going to shy away from grabbing a Voodoo Ranger when I go to the stadiums.
Yeah.
Because it is still good. But and
It's
I can't really. It's hard for me to harp on someone who, what, they made it. Good for them.
Yeah.
It's hard. So it's a mixed bag, I would say.
Yeah.
What's your I'd be curious to hear from both of you. Like, what's your craft beer story? Like, did you grow up, like I said, like drinking Bud Miller Lite in the woods, or did you just go straight into Imperial IPAs and saisons? Or
I saw your cattail.
Yeah. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So I definitely grew up on Bud Light, Busch Light, up in South Dakota. So when we got fancy, it was like Moose Drool or Mickey's, like
Mickey's was your go. That was your fancy.
Was definitely not fan, but it was different from Bud Light, right? And then if you crossed over into Wyoming, which the area of the state that I mainly grew up in, Wyoming was like 11 miles away, and you could actually get Fat Tire. And so Fat Tire was very much like the gateway craft beer.
Yep.
And I know it was for a
Same,
lot of
same.
people.
Yep.
But it's like kind of funny that we would literally have to like cross the border, go buy a couple of cases and bring it back. But I didn't do that until college, and like later in college when
this was like
I could afford
2006 that you could actually like cross the border, or you had to cross the border to get anything over 3.2.
Yeah. So definitely grew up. And then when I moved to Colorado, was going to school, was in the casinos, was just kind of pudding around, wanted to get out of the casinos, saw there's a brewery opening up 2 miles from my house versus a 40-minute drive up to the casinos, and kind of harped on them over and over, hitting them up, like wanting to get hired. And as most places getting open, they opened 4 or 6 months later than expected, and ended up calling me in. And and got hired. Still great friends with the owner, helped them get up and going. We have all of the love, hate, horror stories of getting a place up and off the ground and neither of us ever sleeping and each of us trying to take on way too much and just trying to keep the place going, right? We'd stay up and we were like sleeping on the side of the bar as people were still there, like waiting for them to leave. And we're like, we've been here since like 6 a.m. and it's now 11:30 and we're so freaking tired.
6 a.m.
But yeah, like we played softball together. We have kids in like the same age. So like we definitely stay in touch. And great family and love them to death and thank them indefinitely for the opportunity of breaking into the space because I haven't been able to leave since. I love it. I love the family how everybody just is so supportive of each other and I love that.
And she didn't say it, but tell
What's
them
oh, Four Noses? Yeah, sorry. Four Noses was the brewery that broke me into the
That's
scene.
why we talk about them all the time.
Liz, you said your dad owned a bar, so like did you
Right.
grow up around craft beer or just around like whiskey and
Yeah, a lot of Budweiser. Yep. He owned a bar. Him and my grandpa owned a bar. So, I mean, when I was growing up, there was a keg in the refrigerator in the basement, and it would take all three, me and my brother and my sister, to go down and fill my dad's one stein of beer, and it would take 20 minutes to fill this beer up. And that just is what it is. That's how I grew up. But anyway, Budweiser, Bud Light. I mean, PBR Light. I mean, I remember like stocking the shelves, peeling labels. Oh yeah, same. And there was whiskey, right? Like, again, not to like expose myself, but by the time high school hit, there was a lot of Busch Light, Budweiser, drinking a lot of Lord Calvert, that sort of thing, depending on how crazy you wanted the night to get. Or grandma's R&R. But that just is what it is. So similarly, by the time I made it I grew up on the east side of South Dakota, so east of the Missouri River. By the time I made it to the west side of the river where Fat Tire was closer, I was definitely driving over there every couple of weeks to get a case. And then when I came to Colorado, it was the Four Noses Anarchy IPA that really sent me over the edge. And eventually Chelsea got me into the beer industry, and she kept telling me for years and years, she's like, you got to do this. You got to do this. I was like, I don't know shit about beer. And she's like, but you do. And I was like, but I don't. I like drinking beer. And she's like, it's the same thing. You just got to like put words behind it. And so eventually we did. So here we are.
So you guys are both from South Dakota?
Yep. East side, better side.
So so it's funny. So we didn't know each other growing up, but there you go. Yeah. So you've got the river that goes through.
I can't even name a city in South Dakota. Like,
because there's two, so that's okay.
That's not true. I'm from Huron.
That's not a city.
I always get South Dakota and North Dakota mixed up.
Yeah, most do. So Liz grew up on the east side. I basically grew up on the west side, but also like when I was younger, I was on the east side, and we both played basketball. But Liz is a little bit older than me, but we like crossed paths in a lot of like tournaments, and we crossed paths. Yeah, it's very farmland.
I lived in Fargo, and I didn't realize that was North Dakota, not South Dakota.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that Coen Brothers movie, Fargo?
That's my favorite movie. Oh yeah.
I saw that in the theaters.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
I've never really been like that far out in the Midwest. It's like everything's like flat unless you're in the mountains.
Yeah.
So
the Black Hills, the west side has hills.
Yeah.
It's basically like a tiny Denver. Like there's smaller hills, there's less people, but it's like
I didn't realize South Dakota was so close to Wyoming.
Yeah, 11 miles.
So there's no direct road from South Dakota to Colorado. You have to like go through Nebraska.
Yeah, I usually go through Wyoming, but that's because my family lives like very, very west side.
Yeah.
Do you still
in Wyoming? You can go fast.
Sorry, what?
Do you guys? So I'm from. Actually, I should have brought this up. So
yeah, do it.
Let's see. So I'm from here.
Okay.
I'm from Schenectady originally, but I lived in Albany. That's the capital. And then I moved to Florida in 2015. So I'm right outside Orlando. I'm here in Sanford, where this airport is.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, like Disney World is like right here.
I've been there once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I might, because I drive for a living, so I do Uber, Lyft, DoorDash,
Oh, yeah.
Instacart,
Oh, cool.
Grubhub,
I
and
did that, yeah.
a lot of times I end up down in Orlando giving tourist rides to and from the theme parks,
Awesome.
and it's funny because I can always bond with people over beer. Like no matter what, well, I was gonna say no matter what country they're from, I can usually like a lot of times I know more about their beer than they do. You know, if they're from like an English speaking country like England, Ireland, something like that, we can kind of bond over a beer. Because like if you're from one of those countries, like it's like part of their, it's almost like in their DNA. It's definitely part of
Yeah.
their
Mhm.
culture. They definitely
It's
start
like
Oh,
part of
drinking a
the
yeah.
lot.
lifestyle.
It is, it's a
Yeah,
lifestyle.
Yeah.
and it's funny because like it's not just Americans, but like worldwide, people just aren't drinking as much as they used to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I usually get into this with other guests. It's like, it was like with the trends in the beer industry, it's like, it's
So
something that I kind of miss from like, the early days of the show. Like when I first started this show, and I used to go to a beer store in Albany that had like everything, like name of obscure beer star like Liechtenstein, 𝒅𝒂𝒅'𝒛,
yeah,
Sati, they would have it. And like
yeah.
now, if I go to Total Wine, like it's basically like three styles: kettle sours, pastry stouts, and hazy IPAs.
Ugh.
You know,
That's so true.
like how come I can't get like or so like this like right now like all the pumpkin beers and Oktoberfest are starting to come out. I mean, I
So
used to
early.
yeah.
Yeah.
How come I can't get like a good amber ale? I can't get a straight American porter. You know,
Yeah.
you guys probably have a way better beer selection than I do, but
Yeah.
I mean, we do, but you're not wrong. Like, it is hard to find an amber Scottish ale porters. Like, that's what my mom's into.
I just had an amber ale
Oh, yeah.
on Friday.
From Lady Justice.
No,
Oh, that was the other Friday.
Satire
Oh, yeah.
Brewing Company. They had all these beautiful beers
Yeah.
to which you're saying, and then I was like, "I'll take the amber."
Yeah.
And it was so good.
So my mom really likes more of like the maltier styles. And so to go to the liquor store and just like find some good solid, just here's a porter, here's an amber. Like they are not easy to find. Even here they're not. I mean, I think we have more of a variety, but they're still not like widely available. If a place has one that comes out, often they don't can it. It's usually just tap room only because it's limited.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's seasonal, so it's hard to even catch them when they are available.
I think, and I don't know if you're asking this, but I think to your point, the liquor store, that such minimal selection is what makes the breweries even more special, right? Because they have the capability and the capacity to make beers that you're looking for, beers that they're excited about, and they're not going to get pigeonholed into the 3 trending beers that are going on right now or whatever it is, and in the greater Denver area where there are 400 plus breweries, I mean, you can cover some ground with that. But to me, that's what makes the brewery special, right? And if you bring it back to what inspired the show, it's about showing that specialness, artistry of the breweries. So I just want to throw that out.
And I shouldn't crap on kettle sours too much, actually.
Yeah, okay. I was like,
I know.
I feel like a kettle
Are you familiar with Urban Artifact out of Cincinnati? They're like kind of like one of the cutting edge kettle sour brewers. Like
I didn't know that was a thing. A cutting edge kettle sour company.
Happy Snacks.
That's such a great name.
It's a fruit punch sour. Well, a guy who was in my homebrew club in Albany, Brett Coleman Baker, he is one of the co-founders of Urban Artifact in Cincinnati. And he was on the show a few times. We used to do in fact, he did a bunch of the Tuesday night beer schools with me. So like, this is a show I was trying to do up until recently. I was really good, like every week, picking a random style out of the BJCP guidelines. And like, I would have like 2 commercial beers, and me and Christina, my girlfriend, or Brett, or somebody else, we would compare them to the specs. And it's funny because recently I was been trying to get other beer tubers on here to do that show, and I wanted to do just like American Porter, but the only American Porter that I can get around here is Founders Porter, And it's
Mhm.
like I can't even like think of another just straight like something without chocolate or vanilla or
Mhm.
coffee. Like,
Yeah.
can
Mhm.
you think of a American porter without
Just sweet.
additives in it? Like, I have one right here, this cookie porter, actually from High Hops Brewery out of where you guys
Yeah, I
are.
say commercial wise,
Yeah.
no.
We just did a pairing with 𝑷𝒐𝒅'𝒛. Uh,
Actually, that's a good one. Isn't it like the Butte porter or whatever
yeah,
it's
There
the
you
called?
go.
Butte
Yeah.
Yeah,
porter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
can't get it
But yeah,
here.
I mean,
was
we have
marvelous
we
with
have a
tinned
couple
fish.
around here. Ugh, so gross. The tin fish beer pairing was so
Yeah.
excited to watch me squirm.
I know you guys
Um,
only got a few minutes left,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, sorry.
in the remaining time, can you talk about, like, what's your favorite beer styles or actual favorite beers?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Let's do it.
yeah, I'm a sour lover,
Yeah.
which is why
Mm.
I am like cutting edge kettle sour. My snootiness is like me kettle sours. Yeah, I mean, I love sours. I love how they pair well. I can drink more than the average person of them. I like that I sip on them and that they get better as they get like over time. Where I know stouts and like other bigger beers do as well, but those just get so heavy. And like I said, I don't like being thirsty after I take a drink. I want to feel
Mhm.
refreshed, and I love sours. Sours, and if I'm like really thirsty, I'll go for a lager. I really love a good lager. For a long time, I thought that like a lime lager, Mexican lager was just like a crappy lager that they threw lime into. And then I started actually having some really crappy Mexican lagers, and I was like, "Oh no, you can really mess this up." Like there's some really bad Mexican lagers out
Do you
here.
like, the European sours, like the Fruit Lambics or like,
Oh, yeah.
Goose or Gurza or whatever it's called, you
Yeah, the
know?
gooses. Yeah, I do.
Nice.
And again, because they're a little bit lighter, they're more delicate. They're not as like overbearing on either. There's just like so much fruit, or there's so much just sour to it. Like I love the spectrum and trying them all, but I've definitely decided for like more of the wild fermented. I just like the balance that it brings out in the beer flavor themselves a lot more. And I've just kind of
Mhm.
fallen in love. There's actually when you brought up the kettle sour place, it made me think of there's a wild cider place, and it's called, like, Art and Science or something. We have bottles.
Mm.
If I could show you my computer, but we're using it, I have, like, a sticker from them.
Mm.
And I think they're in, like, Portland, Idaho-ish, somewhere area, and we've ordered
Mm.
stuff in from them, and they do a really good job and, like, a really unique balance, right? Because ciders are so sweet, and to throw in the sour aspect is a fun balance. They've got a good branding and big bottles, but
Yeah.
I'm a sour and lagers, those are my go-to. I do like an IPA, but I can do, like, 1, and then I'm kind of over the hoppiness.
They're good for Waterworld.
Yeah, like, I
What's
love an IPA, like, I'll pick that over a lot of beers, but, like,
Yeah.
it's, like, 1, and I'm just kind of over the
Mhm.
hops.
Yeah.
what's your
So
what's your favorites, Liz?
you got it. So I definitely, it's gonna be 2, and I'm always gonna vary between hot and cold temperatures. Some people call that bipolar in the psychological world. You call it what you will. Anyway, I love a Helles lager. I've been to Germany a
Mhm.
couple of times, and I don't care where I'm at, I'm always getting the Helles. I love crisp, I love refreshing, I love slammable. I love it with food, especially like bratwurst, stuff like that, sauerkraut. And then my other one is definitely bourbon barrel-aged stouts. Holy crap. Um, we got to hang out with Wayne Burns from, Burns Family Artisan Ales recently, and
They do a
yeah,
good job.
one of the guys dubbed one of the big beer kings. You've probably heard of him. And if you haven't, you should watch this episode. But anyways, the bigger, the better, the stronger, right? But his are definitely quaffable, right? It's not too much, it's not too little, it's always more. So I like the light and the dark.
Yeah, I mean, what do we
Yeah.
drink? Like a 19% or
It was a
14%?
19% that he bottled in
Yeah,
21.
and, like, you never
And
would have
it
guessed
it
it.
barrel aged
Like
for 23
Wow.
months or something
yeah,
like that.
you
It was
never would
beautiful.
have guessed. Yeah, it was so good, and that's kind of his whole jam is, like, he loves making big beers that are drinkable,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so, if all big beers were as good as his, then I probably would also peg those in, but they're so hard to find.
We're
Far
kinda
and
Yeah.
spoiled, as you said, in
far
Colorado.
and few in between.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys being on the show. It kinda stinks we
Thank
this
you.
I feel like we're just getting warmed up, but
I
I
know,
know you guys
we got
got a
another
hard out,
hour.
so yeah. Well, if you
We'll
wanna,
save you some editing time.
yeah, we'll have to do a part 2 sometime, or if you ever wanna
Yes,
have
I'd
me on
love
your
to.
show, like,
Yeah,
if you ever
let's do
wanna
that,
talk
that
beer tube or, like, the current state of the beer industry or whatever, I'm
Would
up
love
for
to.
anything. Or,
alright.
like, beer judging, 'cause I'm BJCP and Cicerone certified.
Alright.
So,
Yeah, that would actually be a really cool little segment that we haven't really dabbled in on too much because we're like trying to get our certifications, and
yeah.
so that'll be actually I think that'd be a really good good angle on that. That'd be fun to kind of take
Let's
through
do
and
it.
do
Let's
that.
do it.
Can I make a request for your channel?
Oh,
Please.
love.
Can you do like a behind the scenes, like everything? Like actually, do I still have my? Here we go. Just wanted to show. So a few months ago, I did a little series called BeerTube Academy,
Okay.
where I was trying to. Why isn't this? Here we go. Sorry, I closed my screen. All right, so here's my channel. If you go all the way to the bottom, there's a playlist called BeerTube Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically me trying to teach anybody who wants to become a beer tuber. Basically, like doing like how I do, where I just do beer reviews, not like podcasts like how you guys do. And it's like, how to like your basic like lighting, camera, microphone, all that stuff, editing, how to make shorts and TikToks and things like that, SEO, thumbnail design, things like that. But I would love to see like a behind the scenes of you guys, because like I know you do like kind of like a whole variety show for like an hour, 75 minutes, something like that. And then like you chop everything up into shorts. And I would assume you're probably using like Opus Clip to make shorts or some kind of
Not
AI.
anymore. We used to, and they just came out like garbage.
Oh, really?
We just didn't like them. They like when they're so conversational piece, it like jumps into the middle, and you just don't know what's being talked about.
Are you doing the captions manually, or do you have like a generator for that?
Submagic for the captions.
It's funny because like I actually don't like captions, because like all I do is I just read the captions and I don't pay attention to like the actual video. But I know people love captions, so I've been playing around with them recently.
I
But
saw that. They look good.
yeah, if you guys could ever do a behind the scenes or
Yeah,
like
you
how
got
we
it.
make the show, I would love to see that. But
yeah, let's do it. That'd be a good one. We definitely
Yeah.
have plenty of. We've been
I don't know if
saving
you
a lot
wanna
of
see that anger.
a lot of our blooper reel goes to our Patreon, so
Yeah.
we try to save some of the not as public friendly jokes and us being frustrated at each other and then being like, and smile.
Yeah.
Well, internally we're like, we hate you so much right now. And the amount of writing and everything. I mean, we try to put a lot of effort. We try to be very intentional with it and hit each
Mhm.
segment. And honestly, if it gets much over an hour and a half, we're like, ugh, we got too long winded. We gotta
Yeah, I
lock
mean,
it up.
it's just us and Sam.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Yeah.
three of us.
basically just the three of us doing everything. So it takes some
Well,
time.
I will put links to all your stuff in the
Thank
description.
you.
Yeah,
And
we want to share it too.
hopefully we can do this again sometime. I feel like we're just, like I said, I feel like we're just getting started. So thanks for doing. I'll be sure to check out our review of the Chimay Green. And
love it.
Yeah, I will see you guys around.
We're booking out for next season, so we'll just get you locked in for one of the episodes. That'll be great.
Definitely. All right, have a good night. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you so much. I'm
Thanks
empty,
so much,
so it's a bad tact to cheers with an empty glass. Sorry.
I
Thank you
do that
so
all
much.
the time. Usually I'm just drinking water by now.
I should be drinking water.
Yeah, fair. I haven't gotten that far.
Thanks.
Have a
Have a
great
good
night.
night.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.